Hey guys, today I'm going to show you the DPS contribution Shenhe can give to your team. How does she fare against Ganyu, Ayaka, or Kazuha in terms of supporting a cryo team? Let's find out. Shenhe gives 15% damage bonus to everyone's elemental skill and elemental burst when you press her skill. But when you hold her skill, Shenhe gives 15% damage bonus to everyone's normal, charge, and plunge attacks. On top of that, she will also give damage increase to everyone's cryo damage, but only limited to the first 5 to 7 hits per person, depending on whether you pressed or hold her elemental skill. Her burst will give 15% cryo damage bonus to your active character, and 15% cryo shred to the enemies inside her AoE. Now to calculate her DPS contribution, we need to find out her own DPS, and the DPS increase from the buffed characters. This is Shenhe's full support build that I used to calculate her DPS and her buffs later. You can use either 2-piece Shimenawa set and 2-piece Gladiator set, or 4-piece Noblesse set, and they will perform almost the same. Her own DPS with this build is 2.3k, which is pretty low. Even with a DPS build, she can only dish out 4.8k DPS with full Blizzard Strayer set and an R1 Blackcliff pole. Now that we know her DPS, let's find out the damage increase she can give to Ganyu and Ayaka. Let's start with Ganyu. Here is our Ganyu build in her simulated rotation with Shenhe alongside her. As you can see, Ganyu's DPS is increased from 11.5k to 16k in a scenario where there is only one enemy. In a scenario where there are two enemies, the DPS increase is a little lower because Shenhe's buff quota was divided by 2. So by adding her own DPS, which was 2.3k, and the DPS increase on Ganyu, which was 4.49k, we now know that her DPS contribution to a Ganyu freeze team is 6.8k, making a total of 18.3k DPS for both Ganyu and Shenhe. How does this fare against Ayaka? Let's take a look at our Ayaka now. With Ayaka instead of Shenhe in Ganyu freeze team, she can contribute a whopping 12.8k DPS to Ganyu freeze team by just casting her elemental skill and elemental burst, making a total of 24.4k DPS for both Ganyu and Ayaka combo. This means, for Ganyu mains, it's better to wait for Ayaka rerun instead of Shenhe if you really want to improve your Ganyu freeze team. Now let's move on to Ayaka freeze team. This is our Ayaka build in her simulated rotation alongside Shenhe. As you can see, Ayaka's DPS before applying Shenhe's buffs is 17.2k. After applying Shenhe's buffs, her DPS is increased by 8.8k in a scenario where there is only one enemy, and 6.9k in a scenario where there are two enemies. This means, Shenhe's contribution to Ayaka freeze team is much bigger than her contribution to Ganyu freeze team, as you can see in the next chart. In this chart, you can see that Shenhe and Ayaka combo have higher total DPS than Ganyu and Ayaka combo we calculated earlier. But with two enemies though, the difference is minimal, and with more enemies, there could be no difference at all. This means, if you're Ayaka main, you can expect more DPS by pulling Shenhe than Ganyu. But remember that it's only a slight improvement. Now what if Ganyu and Ayaka are on the same team? Who is better to support them then? Shenhe or Kazuha? This time we need to simulate two completely different team rotations. With Shenhe, Ganyu, and Ayaka in the same team, they can deal a total of 35.9k DPS in a single enemy scenario. Now let's compare it to Kazuha, Ayaka, and Ganyu trio. As you can see, this Kazuha Ayaka Ganyu team can dish out 34.9k DPS, just slightly below Shenhe Ayaka Ganyu team. So based on this result, we know that Shenhe is just slightly better than Kazuha in the Ganyu Ayaka team, and she is also better than Ganyu in the Ayaka team. Now the question is Shenhe worth pulling? I personally wouldn't recommend pulling for her. By looking at the calculation results we just saw, Shenhe is only good at supporting Ayaka, and Ayaka only. Even so, the DPS gain is only 8 to 16% more, compared to Ganyu as Ayaka's support. But with Ganyu, you can build a new separate meta team, while you can't with Shenhe. The value of Shenhe is too little for now. Also consider saving for Kazuha rerun later if you don't have him yet, because unlike Shenhe, Kazuha is a universal support that can boost many team comps including Ayaka and Ganyu. So that's it guys, I hope this video helps you make your decision, and please like the video and subscribe to help my channel grow. Thank you.